Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Ghadir, and I'm an expert in the world of fertility, the area that I love and have deep passion for. I have helped thousands of people around the globe start their beautiful families, and in this podcast, The Fertile Life, I interview guests about their paths to parenthood and dive into discussions around how the road to becoming a parent shapes us. Also looking at the balance between family and many responsibilities life demands from us. And we'll be discussing the challenges that we encounter along the way. Through insightful conversations, I hope to create a guide for listeners in all stages of life and break many stigmas often associated with fertility. We will also share all the health and wellness tips my guests and I have learned over the years. Follow along as I take you on a journey towards the fertile life. Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Fertile Life. Today, we have a very, very special guest, a dear friend of mine, a prior patient of mine, and someone who I can say has conquered her fertility battles and done everything the smart way. And I'm not going to call it a battle, but her journey. She's kind of gotten to the place where she needs to be. Today, we're going to be talking to Scheana Shay, and I want her to introduce herself to all of my audience, and everyone knows exactly who she is and what she does. And I'm really excited to have you here today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. 9 months pregnant. Never thought I'd see the day, and here we are.
Are you really 9 months now?
Yeah, I'm
so
doing
any day now.
I'm doing 2.5 weeks.
Wow. Because I remember when you texted me and said, I'm pregnant, and that was crazy. So that was wow, what a time to be pregnant.
I know it's been the best time to be pregnant because there has been no FOMO. I haven't missed out on anything. No one got to go to Coachella this year, last year. I'm like, it's been perfect. I just get to stay home, mind my own business, and feel like I'm not missing out on anything. Just take care of the body.
That is so true. And that is really, honestly, we were busier last year in my clinic, helping people get pregnant, tucking their eggs away, freezing eggs, and doing everything that we needed to do. And to be honest, it was an incredible time for people that needed to catch up on some important things in their life. So one of the things I wanted to get started talking about is for many people, you've been so unbelievably open about your story, about how proactive you were about freezing eggs, understanding that your egg reserve was a little bit lower than we had all wanted, and really proactive about everything that you did. Cool. Let's go over this a little bit because I want to let everyone know, how old were you when you decided that you wanted to freeze your eggs?
It's something that I had thought about in my late 20s, early 30s. God, now I'm in my mid 30s. But it was really right around when I got divorced. I believe I was 31. Then I got right in a new relationship, and then that ended a little less than a year later. And so around 32, 33, I was like, okay, I need to take my life into my own hands, and I don't see myself settling down again anytime soon, because that's exactly what I was doing. I was settling. And I was just like, I know that I do want to have kids one day. And I don't want to be that woman who's like, I need to just settle, find a guy because, the clock's ticking and I need to have kids now. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to revisit this freezing eggs thing and see if it's for me. And once I got my blood levels tested and found out how low my AMH levels were, I was like, this is a no-brainer. I need to do this now. I was hoping to get more eggs. We got, 12 the first time and only 9 were mature. And it sounded like, oh, that's great. But it's like, those are just eggs. You don't know that they're going to turn into a healthy, viable embryo. So I was like, well, we got to do this again. And I was literally getting ready to do it a third time, but considering just doing embryos, because then I'm like, worst case scenario, things with Brock don't work out. I still have 16 eggs. Let's do some embryos. And that's when I found out I was pregnant.
That's great. So you recapped that so perfectly. For people that are listening and they don't know what the AMH test is, the AMH test, the anti-mullerian test, was, I think, one of the most important things that you did in your life, okay, for your fertility. Mm-hmm. Knowing where you stand and knowing that your AMH level was on the lower side, and like someone else in your age group that may have made, 20 eggs, 25 eggs, and you made just shy of 10 being frozen from the first cycle, that's a decent number. I think for your levels, you did really well. But the AMH level is a good predictor of how people are going to do. And I think for a low level, that actually was a good number. So I think we did really well. But I think it also really saved you by letting you know that you have to become proactive, and you have to become proactive right now. It's one of the most difficult messages that I have getting across to someone who's really young, like you are, okay, or were when you came in. You're still young, but you were super young when you came in, and understanding that your fertility is not as young, and that female fertility is in a different wavelength and in a different place than everyone else's is. And it was a big message that I think came across loud and clear to you. So for those people that are listening, and if you don't know what your AMH is, you're not doing your part and being proactive in your life that has to do with your fertility. So it's the number one blood test that I would recommend. And I also tell people, they're like, how often should I do it? I think that's a test that you should be doing at least every year, maybe even every 6 months. There's no guidelines. No one's going to tell you the right or wrong. If it were me, probably every 6 months, I jump in and do that one blood test, or at least once a year, to see how quickly it's going down, or if it's changing, or if it's stable, giving you a really good understanding. So I'm glad that blood test was such an eye-opening experience for us both to do and realize.
Definitely.
It was huge. It was huge. And we did it. It's kind of like childbirth. You forget how horrible it is afterwards. What do you remember from your first and second cycles?
I honestly did not have any issues or side effects. And it was such an easy, enjoyable experience for me. And I feel like people didn't like me saying that. It's like they wanted me to be like, oh my God, it was so hard. And I'm like, no, this is my experience. I'm sure some women, don't react as well to the hormones, or, do have trouble injecting themselves, or they, had the, what is it, OHSS, after they gave, after their eggs were retrieved. I said, but for me, it was easy. And after I did it, I was like, wait, that's it. I could do this again. And then I was getting ready to do it again. You don't just keep wanting to do that if it's that hard. And I genuinely enjoyed the experience. I knew each time I was injecting myself, this was for my future, and it was a future baby that I wanted to have. And it was a great experience for me. That's what I remember more than anything, is how painless and enjoyable it honestly was. And I don't want anyone to take that from me, because that's my journey and that's my story. And I wanted women to know that it doesn't have to be hard. I'm sure for some it is. And I've heard not horror stories, but I've had so many women be like, oh my God, I fainted after the first shot. And I know one of my best friends, she fainted after she gave herself the first shot. And I've heard that a lot. And I'm like, oh, it was just easy for me. I'm like, I don't know. I have no fear of needles. And maybe after being on birth control for so long, my body was just used to having a high amount of hormones. But I enjoyed it. And I know after this baby, which was conceived naturally, if we have to go the IVF route, that I'll be okay, because I've already frozen my eggs and it was fine. So that's what I remember the most.
I think that I'm going to bring something up that you didn't right now. You also had your mom there, and your mom was with you and there the entire process, which was really nice. And she's amazing. And for those people that don't have their mom right there and with them, I think that it's really important to have someone, whether it's a friend, or I think the best way that I've seen this happen for someone who doesn't have a parent around or a sibling around, when two friends do it at the same time, I think it's been a great experience watching two friends really support each other doing this process. And that was a great one. But yeah, your mom was really there for you, and I love her. She is so sweet, and she's amazing.
And I was getting ready to do the third round with one of my best friends. And then I found out I was pregnant. I was like, I'm sorry, you're on your own with this one. But I was able to FaceTime with her after she fainted the first night. I was able to FaceTime with her the second night and walk her boyfriend through doing the injection for her and how to mix it and help and everything. And I know just having gone through it already and being able to just be there via FaceTime in the middle of a pandemic was very helpful for her. And she got through it and she got like 27 eggs. I'm like, good for you.
That's great. You know what? I think we may have a side career for you when you're going to be like breastfeeding and you're going to be able to do a Zoom telling someone how to do the injections. I can just foresee that being a great new business and
oh my God, totally.
And our newest employee. I love that.
Yeah, I would love it. I mean, to this day, I still have women in my DMs who either were following my journey and like now are pregnant through IVF or just have been able to relate to, freezing eggs and then a miscarriage. And every single day I speak to women about fertility. And that's why I wanted to be open about it and talk about it publicly, because I feel like it's such a thing that so many women are like embarrassed to talk about. And they feel like if, they're struggling with infertility, that it's their fault, or if they had a miscarriage, that it's their fault and that they did something wrong. And I just wanted to be a spokesperson for them and to just tell them, like this isn't your fault. Like it happens. And unfortunately it's so common. And, like I'm 1 in 4 and it's crazy, but
you were such a good spokesperson. And, I think that people really have to take advantage of when they're lucky enough to have a following that listens. And, we were seeing some of the weird comments and things that people were putting as well, but you were just open about it from the first second all the way through. I really, it was weird when people were like getting upset that you were saying that it was easy and you did well. I'd have to say 95% of my patients have the same experience as you do. Once in a while, we do have someone that makes a lot of eggs and they get very uncomfortable afterwards. But usually within a week and a half, they're back to normal. So I just tell them, hang in there. I know you're going to have a rough week, but I want you to think about the fact that you made so many eggs. Mm-hmm. But by next week, you're going to be feeling great. And there's never been a chance ever that someone did not go back to normal. So yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think that message needs to be loud and clear. You should not go into this with the fear that you're going to have a disaster or this is going to be a horrible situation. That is something that no one should do.
And I always just tell women who are struggling with the shots and whatnot to just think about the bigger picture, to think about the reason why you're doing this. And it's all worth it. It's a couple weeks, but it's all worth it when you're going to get a baby at the end of it.
Of course. Like everything in life, everything good in life takes work, hard work, energy. And this is another thing. You're trying to protect your family in the future. So I'm so excited that you did that. I always have been, and I've been very proud of you. But then what happened? So you meet Mr. Right. And did you just try and it just happened like overnight?
No, we didn't try, but we also weren't not trying.
You weren't protecting either. So you were open to anything good happening.
Yeah, but I just thought based on how low my AMH levels were that I told him, I was like, look, there's like a slim to none chance, probably more on the none side, that I could get pregnant naturally. I've never been pregnant. So yeah, we just weren't being safe whatsoever. And I mean, I guess technically, not trying, it took about 6 months to get pregnant. But I did let him know that I was getting off the pill. And a month, 2 months, 3 months goes by. I'm like, see, I told you, like, I can't get pregnant. So as we're getting ready, because I had to get off the pill, obviously cleanse my body to get ready to do another cycle of freezing my eggs, or we were talking about doing embryos. In that time, I got pregnant and then got pregnant again.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I don't want that very, very common episode that happened to you to be forgotten and to be ignored and not addressed for all the other women who are also in those shoes.
Yeah. I mean, it was the hardest thing I've ever been through, not knowing I was able to get pregnant, to being pregnant and then to going in and seeing you. I was so thankful you were able to get me in so soon because I just had a weird feeling. And, you know, with COVID, no doctors were seeing you until 10 weeks. And I called you and I was like, I can't wait like another 5 weeks. Like I was spotting a little bit. And when you said you didn't see the sack or whatever it was, and it was like, well, maybe it's a little early, but I mean, like, you do this for a living, obviously, you know what you were looking at. And for me, I was just like, no, like, you're wrong, like, it's too early, like, I'll come back in a week and something will be there. And that whole week, I felt something was wrong. I started bleeding more. And when I was able to get in with Dr. Benuni, and, you know, there was no heartbeat. And then we went back and I ended up having to get a DNC because there was just nothing progressing. It was just devastating because, like I said, I never even thought that I could get pregnant naturally. And then to just find out I'm pregnant and it's not going to work out all in the same month. It was just so much to take in. And it was really, really hard. But then a month later, I'm blessed with this rainbow baby. And I couldn't believe it happened so quickly, but it did. And then that was also hard because then I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm just replacing this child I just lost immediately. One thing that gave me peace is I genuinely felt the first was a boy and this was a girl. And I believe that boy will come back in another form. And it wasn't my body wasn't ready. It was like, I needed like this, like, wake up call. And that's what that first baby did, was like, look, you can get pregnant, get your shit together. It's time for you to be a mom. And like, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, it was really hard, but now I'm 2.5 weeks away from having a baby. And it's like, it's made me just so grateful this whole pregnancy. Like, I'm not ready to stop being pregnant. I'm just like, stay in. I'm okay if you're late. Like, I'm not that woman who's like, oh my God, get this baby out of me. Like, I'm making sure I'm not doing things or eating things that could cause preterm labor. I want her to carry to term, but it's made it not as exciting because I'm like, still at 37.5 weeks pregnant, I'm not convinced I'm coming home with a baby. I have everything ready. We've got the nursery and every single thing a baby would need, but I'm not like convinced that I'm going to bring a baby home in my arms. I'm still like, something could still go wrong.
Well, we're not going to think like that.
Okay? I know.
And I love how open you are to this and how you let your emotions come out, because having a miscarriage is such a common thing and so few people talk about it. I have had family members, my own family, my wife had miscarriage. And it's one of those things, like, then when it happens to you, the world's like, oh, I had a miscarriage. Oh, I had a miscarriage. But no one just like talks about it and isn't open enough about it. And it's really hard. Yeah. I just remember when it happened to us, me as a man, not even carrying, it hit me so hard. And I was so emotional and it was so sad. And we even had a child before that. So it wasn't like we had no kids, but the one thing I like as a physician to remind someone is, if it's a great sign, being able to get pregnant is always a great sign. So be thankful. I know it's a horrible way to look at it, but it's still a good sign that you can get pregnant. Unfortunately, 15% of pregnancies in our country do end in a miscarriage. But as you saw very quickly, you know, I have to say something. I think that some of the treatments that I do in my office and fertility doctors do around the world, they wake people's body up. I'm a firm believer, and I've seen this happen multiple times. The list is right now in my head, just running through my head about the people that this happened to, that they did this and it didn't go well, or the IVF didn't go perfect. And within the next 3 months, they were pregnant on their own.
Yeah.
And if I had to bet money, I would have said it's going to be very hard for that person to get pregnant. So there's something about these medications that wake things up. There's something about these medications that really make the body aware of what's going on. And I'm so glad that despite what happened the first time. The second time has gone now so far. And we are going to be thinking positive
Yes.
thoughts. And you better put me on that list of the first few people to get that little message or the text message, or whether tell your mom to put me on her list. Okay. Because I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see a picture of your baby girl. Do you have a name already?
We do. Yeah. We're not announcing it yet, but we've got one. I'll tell you. Yeah.
My wife and I decided we're not telling anyone until the second our baby was born.
Yeah.
For all of the kids. But that's exciting that you already have a name. So you prepared at home?
Yeah, so that's the thing. We're fully prepared here in San Diego, but my doctor and hospital is in LA. So we are moving to LA this week. And wow. I'm just like, okay, just stay in. I mean, hopefully, 2.5 more weeks, but at least 2.5 more days. But I have my hospital bags, I have several packed by the door. I've got my cord blood kit, my placenta encapsulation kit. I've got it all like ready to go. So I feel prepared in that sense, but we still need to get into our spot in LA and get all of that furniture set up. But by the end of this week, we should be good to go with all of that. Everything is ordered or on the way. And I'm like, you know what? Even if like the nursery isn't done, if she, does come early, she just needs boobs and a bassinet, and that we have. So
and that's good. It. And let me tell you something. The biggest mistake first-time parents make, I can guarantee you this, is you buy way too many things that you don't need, that you're not going to use, that are ridiculous gimmicks that these, commercials and our country makes us buy that you don't even need. You literally need onesies, a wrap, and a bassinet.
Yeah. And that's what I'm like, we have the essentials.
And diapers.
Yeah. And I have so many of those. People are like, you got too many newborn diapers. I'm like, how do you know if I'm going to have her early? Like one of my girlfriends just delivered 3 weeks early and the newborn diapers were too big. So she had to get preemie diapers. Like she doesn't have enough. So I'm like, first of all, you can't have too many diapers. I also know several women pregnant after me who are having their babies after. So I'm like, they're not going to go to waste. I could donate them to a women's shelter. Yes. Regardless, I am prepared.
And you can donate things to Baby, which we're a huge proponent and we sponsor a lot as well. It's a great charity. But there's also Amazon. Okay.
Yeah.
Which you can have almost anything you need the next day delivered to your home. Totally. There's pharmacies and places you could go 24 hours a day. So we're very lucky that we have a country. I want to hear a little bit about the daddy. I have not had the fortune of meeting him. I've just seen him on social media. And I've not got a chance to really meet him. Tell me about him.
He is amazing. I mean, he is my rock. He has been so supportive of just everything, every aspect of my life, career, personal, since I met him. And we're just such a perfect match. We're both very type A, like loud personalities. So at first I thought that, would maybe butt heads a little bit, but we're also such a good balance. He puts me in my place as I put him in his. And it works so well. Like he pushes me and challenges me. And I've never really had that in a relationship before. I've kind of always been the one in charge. And now it's very 50-50. But great. I feel like that's how it should be. And he's so excited. He already has 2 little ones back in Australia. So that will help when, a new baby comes. It's like, okay, this isn't his first rodeo. It's mine. And I'm like, you need to remember that, like, just because you've done this before, I have not. So like, just please be patient with me. And if I freak out about something, just let me have it. And he's like, no, you don't need to freak out. Like about, like, if I hold her like this, I'm like, I know, but he's like, if she eats sand, she eats sand. If she picks it, I'm like, oh, I know, but okay. But he definitely has calmed my anxiety. I've been off my anxiety meds for almost a year now. And I didn't know that I would really ever get off those. And once I found out I was pregnant the first time, my doctor had recommended weaning off them. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. I've been on them for a long time. And so by the time I got pregnant the second time around, I was completely off them. And I didn't know if I was going to have so much anxiety after a loss and being pregnant, but I haven't had really any. And I've had such an easy pregnancy. I didn't get morning sickness one time. The worst thing is the heartburn, and it's so manageable. Like, I don't even care. I'm like, well, hopefully she has a lot of hair, but I've been very blessed. And I feel like that, you know, whether it's God or whatever, but after having such a terrible loss, to have such an amazing pregnancy has just been such a blessing. And Brock has just been such a rock and supporter this entire time.
Well, I have a feeling that you're going to be the most unbelievable mom, and I'm excited to kind of see your journey. And I always tell first-time parents, like, you're going to learn. Like, you only need to know like how to do like 3 things, like feed, burp, change, and then swaddle and put them to bed. I mean, that's 4 things, but like, you're not expected to know every single thing. And the way that human beings just like evolve, it's just an amazing thing and there is something that happens to a woman that delivers a child that innately kind of teaches you. Now, there's some learning involved as well to get better and better at it, but there's something innately that I've seen in women, and I've involved with a lot of women's lives, that I've seen them kind of just learn what they need to learn little by little by little. And it's really a beautiful thing to watch. And I'm so glad that you're going into it so excited and with all the right emotions. I just see it. And you look really, really pretty. Your face is like glowing from like pregnancy look, and you look great. I'm just feeling such good energy from you right now. And it's making me like beyond happy.
Yeah, I just did a Reiki on Friday. I got mine and baby girl's chakras cleared. We're ready to go. She said this is the most open she's seen me in the past year. And I feel good. So even when that one little thought in the back of my head comes up, like something could still go wrong, I'm like, nope, everything's gonna be fine. Shut up. It's gonna be fine. She's not coming early. She's gonna be a Taurus. It's all gonna be good.
She's gonna be great. She's gonna be great. Well, you're in great hands. Your doctor, Dr. Benuni, is a fantastic doctor. So
thank you for that recommendation. He is amazing. His bedside manner is just incredible. Like, I can't imagine if I didn't have him when I was going through the miscarriage. Like, he's an incredible doctor. So thank you for referring me to him.
No, he's a great guy. And you have another great man next to you, Brock. I can't wait to meet him. I could just imagine our celebration dinner for the 3 of us. Not one of us can get a word in because you know how all 3 of us are.
Yep. Definitely.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm wishing you the absolute best of luck. I really appreciate you joining me tonight. I'm so excited that you're one of my earliest guests on my podcast, someone that I really believe that everything to have the most fertile life. And again, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Thank you for listening today. If you've enjoyed listening, please feel free to write a review. Also, feel free to follow my Instagram at Dr. Shaheen Ghadir and message me if you need help setting up a consultation. Look forward to speaking to you soon, and I would love to help you start your family.